What's up, guys? Today we're gonna go over some side control stuff. We're gonna work some Kimura Trap setups, getting there, how to control it, a few different reactions my partner might give, and then on a separate video we'll work on how we can finish and all the different options, because there's a lot of stuff you can do from the Kimura Trap. It's a very versatile position. So we're gonna start in side control. So lay on your back for me, Ryan. Okay, from here, there's a lot of ways we can get into our Kimura Trap. We're going to talk about two in particular that I find really high percentage and often are reactions that my partner are going to give me. Okay, so from bottom side control, usually my partner's going to be trying to frame, right? So getting these frames inside like this. If they do this, they can frame me away, hip escape, get their guard back, right? But another thing that people will do from here, and they might start with frames, is they're going to get an underhook, right? And when he gets this underhook on this side that I'm not on, he's going to use it to start jacking up like this, coming up around the corner, taking my back, or starting to wrestle and maybe come up on a single leg. So whenever my partner has that underhook, again, he can start with frames, but ultimately I want to work from this position here. What I need to do is I need to get weight down towards the wrist of this underhook, right? If I keep all my weight on this upper body, Ryan can do what we just showed. He's going to jack up and he's going to start to sit up. So what I need to do right away is I need to get my weight from right over top of his head, and I want to get it down here closer to his hips, right? Because what that'll do is it'll take all my weight and it'll transfer down in toward the wrist. So be thinking, weigh the wrist down whenever you're dealing with this underhook, okay? So watch what I do. See how I pivot my hips here, put all my weight on that underhook, and now with my free arm, I like to cross face, or you can go like thumb in on the gi here and make a strong grip, because now I can use my forearm and control the distance here, okay? Every time Ryan tries to sit up with this underhook now, all my weight is down by his wrist. Okay, so this underhook is almost useless, not totally, but it's gonna be a lot easier for me to start setting up some attacks. So what I wanna do here is, I got my partner flat, right? So I wanna start to drive, I have him on his side. I wanna start to get my partner flat. So I'm gonna start to drive with my forearm, and my shoulder's gonna start to come down and in. So I'm gonna go like this. Okay, and as I do, watch how I'll turn my hips to face his hips, bring my elbow over the top. Notice my hip is down, guys, okay? Because if I stay up like this, there's too much space underneath of Ryan and I, and he's going to start building those frames and getting out from underneath me. So I want to keep my weight heavy, okay? Now from here, a lot of times the underhook is going to be like reaching across my chest and whatnot. It's important that I don't lean back, right? And I don't lean towards this side so that he can throw me with that underhook. I want to keep my weight right over that wrist again. I want to focus on that wrist position being my focal point for my weight. So from here, if Ryan tries to sit up on this, I like to use this other hand, and I'm gonna check this hip, okay? So every time Ryan tries to turn into me, he's kind of wedged, right? And all my weight is right on that underhook. So it's really hard for Ryan to do much of anything here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my elbow back, like I'm going towards my armpit, and I'm gonna pummel my wrist inside, like this. So now I have this inside position. From here, I'm gonna use the forearm and the elbow now to start to drive my partner's wrist towards the mat. As I do this, usually Ryan's going to see that this is starting to become a threat. He might grab his belt, he might grab his leg, but he's gonna use this arm now to kind of make a grip or give me some resistance. Now there's an old catch wrestling move that I learned years ago that I really, really like to do in this position anytime my partner makes a grip. It's very mean, highly effective. Point of the elbow, right on the forearm here, like in between the bones, right? I wanna get right next to the wrist. I'm gonna put the point of my elbow on, and I'm gonna drive it down into the hip here. As I do that, again, I don't lean back, I lean forward, right? That will concede the position. I'm gonna use my elbow to hit the mat, and now from here, I'm gonna use my elbow to kind of open, okay? Once I get here, I'm gonna start to focus on going to this double wrist lock position, and I'm gonna turn my hips. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. As I bring this leg up, I like to hook over the head. I'm gonna use these grips, grabbing palms right on the forearms, never using the fingers, right? If I get onto the fingers, I'm gonna walk till I get my palms on. I get those double palm grips on the forearms, and I'm gonna wrist roll, right? Like I'm curling the wrists and I'm pulling my elbows in. A really common mistake is that people open their elbows and they try to do it like this, right? And that just makes things very loose, right? And it'll be easy for Ryan to find space and escape. So I wanna close the pockets there, okay? When I get into this position, I wanna make sure that I make those double wrist positions. I grab, I curl, I suck my elbows in, okay? From here, I like to lay on my right hip, point my hips up towards my partner's head, pulling my elbows in, pulling my heel nice and tight like this, and it's a small pivot, right? Just mostly hip and shoulder pivot. I'll have these grips here. My elbow is wedged up against his hip, so if he tries to like reach the hand back to get a grip, He can't because he's got to go through this pillar, right? So I curl, I keep my head in tight, I pivot right there, okay? So that's kind of my first finish. We're gonna start from the top there. Ryan's gonna have this underhook, and he can do it off of like a bridge. Maybe he bridged, he gets this underhook right away, look. Pivot my weight down onto the wrist. Get this cross collar, right, to control his head. His head will guide his body. So I'm gonna start to drive him flat with my forearm, my chest here, and then I'm gonna turn my hips back, elbow over the top, elbow back, pummel my hand inside. I'm gonna drive with my elbow and my forearm. If he doesn't make a grip, totally fine. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right through it. Elbow down, reach through, wrist, wrist, okay? If he makes the grip, I'm gonna tip of the elbow right on the forearm. Ryan, tell him how fun this is.
That's great.
Make my grips here. If you're a little high, just remember, make some adjustments. You don't have to commit to a grip that's not quite right. You know, you can make some adjustments. See how I kind of use my forearm here to lock him? Slide this one down, make sure I got a nice tight grip, elbow in, nice and tight. Try not to float your elbow on top of your partner's body, okay? Because you see it'll slide, it'll move around on you. So make sure your elbow is nice and tight right there. And then from here, it's like I'm pressing down, okay? That'll keep a lot of pressure on my partner's shoulder. If I let this happen, it's really easy for Ryan to want to bridge and come up into me. So I want to try and push that wrist to the mat here, right? From here, as my elbow's down and Ryan tries to turn into me, it's already kind of putting that shoulder pressure down and into him, right? So now I get these grips. Once I have them, I'm pulling my elbows in, I'm curling my wrists, and now watch how I'll turn my hips. I'm gonna step my leg up and over the head. Turn, pinch, heel in nice and tight, curling it in. Notice how I barely move Ryan. That's the trick here. If I go like, and I'm like really trying to pull this arm, I'm leaning back, right? And there's a lot of looseness to this. So if he bridges or explodes and throws me back, I might end up losing all of that, right? But from here, I stay nice and tight. My head is in. I like to shrug my shoulders. From here, if Ryan tries to move, go ahead, Ryan, wiggle around here. I am very stable, right? And now I'm just gonna slight curl the wrist, slight twist of the shoulders, and Ryan's tapping. If you're doing a big dynamic twist, we need to tighten up some of those details, okay? So that's the first one. Anytime my partner has that underhook, we're gonna be kind of looking for that setup. Another really common reaction here in side control is this framing position, right? And this can be super, super annoying. If Ryan's like, I just don't want to give my partner anything, I'm gonna ball up, I'm gonna be super tight, really annoying here so he can't open me up, then we have to find a way to kind of navigate these frames, right? And we can always like pop up into knee on belly and put a lot of pressure here, or we can go to the mount because they're not really moving. But if we want to start attacking from this position, what I like to do is just like before, I'm gonna start to bring my arm up and around, control here, and now I'm kind of sinking into this north-south position, okay? And what I can start to do is, threaten the neck here, look for north-south chokes, we can look for collar chokes, but what we can also do is take this arm now, and we're gonna start going underneath of this elbow. As I do, I'm gonna use like the bottom part of my palm where it's real bony, right? Right down here, and I wanna start dragging it across this rib cage here, okay? So kind of hooking underneath of the elbow, and I'm circling towards that side. I'm staying low. See, I'm in like a full sprawl. I'm not like this because there's too much space. Again, I want this to be uncomfortable for Ryan. Kimuras are unfortunately kind of a big man move. It's a catch wrestling style move where you really have to make your partner uncomfortable. You have to be a bit of a bully. So when I'm here, I'm gonna bring this hand to the inside, and I'm really gonna make Ryan uncomfortable. I'm gonna press all my weight through this as I start to circle. Okay? Sure. So when I'm here, I got his head on this side, bringing my palm on. Watch how I circle. Look where his hand is, okay? From here, wrist to wrist. Forearm, nice and tight to the neck. From this position, we can go back the way we came and finish like we did before. However, in this position, what I like to do is our chair sit to the back. Knee up to the head, foot in, like I'm going shin parallel with the back as I step this foot over the top. Okay, from here I can use this to pull him into me, sit to my butt, fall to my far hip here. We can switch to a seatbelt and attack the back, or we already have arm lock attacks. We're right into our Kimura Trap. One more time. Tap it this way, yeah. Good. From here, Ryan's just gonna be insistent on being a balled up jerk, okay? So now we're gonna start going around and under. So as I circle, 1, 2, I can use this to push, right? Continue to circle, keep my hips super low here. I also keep my head down. I'm keeping it up so you guys can hear me talk. But normally I'd be being a real bully here, keeping my head down on Ryan and making his life miserable. I'm gonna bring my forearm under this elbow. So even if Ryan's in nice and tight, right? You see the tip of his elbow is always exposed here. He can't hide it. So now I can hook it. I'm gonna drive that bony part of my palm right across the ribs, like you see a little jerk there. We're gonna kind of drive it up towards the sternum, right? So as you drag, look at, that's just my thumb, just the weight of my thumb. As I drive my forearm into this position and circle with my hips, Ryan is gonna turn. As he does, I go 1, 2, knee up, leg parallel, step, connect to it, sit to my butt, fall to my hip. Really common error, make sure you're not doing this. See this position? Ryan's gonna turn, he's gonna come up on top, and I'm gonna lose. Knee behind the back of the head. Higher the better. Try not to be down here. Way up here, give them a pillow. That's what we always say in class. Put the knee right under the head so that they've got a pillow. You've got your Kimura Trap. You're gonna pull this thing in, leg parallel, leg over the top, heel close to the belly. So you're pinching it nice and tight, controlling the hips. See how I sit to my butt? I don't fall to my near side hip, I fall to my far side hip. Okay, and then from here, you already have a Kimura Trap. That's what these grips are. We can always go arm bar. We can pull them in and go seat belt. You can attack what you want to from there. Go do it.